Stay tuned if you want to see how to make this trench for Trench Crusade and many other game systems. This trench system I built back in 2023, and I had no idea that Trench Crusade was coming out, and it's actually going to be made for also Warhammer 40k, Age of Sigmar, Bolt Action, Fallout, many different games. I designed it so it will cover a 4x4 or 4x5 area. I didn't shoot a video on how we created this. I built them so that they'll be very much interchangeable and you can change the access of whatever you want. The size of each of these squares are 8 inches by 8 inches. Various of materials such as the textured paper. I can't remember the name of it, but I actually got a machine now that I put just construction paper in it and I turn it and it will make all of these vents into it to make it look like the corrugated steel. And so this is all glued on with hot glue. These sandbags are made with air drying clay and it's designed for 28mm plus size miniatures that you can use. But again, our first objective is going to be to protect what we have put together because the foam is very fragile by itself, and as well as like the air dry clay and the paper and so forth. So we want to protect it as best as we can. So what we're going to do first off is we're going to mix up a couple of things here into this. Try to wear some protective gear. First we're going to put Mod Podge in there. We're just going to mix some in here. I'm not going by measurements. If you're interested in measurements, well, I don't know what to tell you. I just do it. We're going to add some sand to it now. So the sand is just clumps of play sand, I guess it's called. You can see it there. It's fine grain. There have lots of junk mixed in this because, again, I use this a lot. But we're going to, you can see the dust coming up here. That's why I said it's good to have a dust mask. I don't do measuring cups, so if you want accurate measurements, I'm sorry, but you came to the wrong place. And just to show you the consistency so far, I didn't add any more, but you can see it's plaster consistency, I guess. Thicker than pancakes, but I wouldn't want to eat that for pancakes. No way. But we're going to add some paint, and it's only like cheap dollar store paint. This here is burnt umber and black too as well. The reason why, because burnt umber is like a really good starting point. But I find with burnt umber, it just seems to be just a little too light. So I like to add just little bits of black in there. So that's all. I added the black and the burnt umber to it. You kind of see that kind of tone. Let's kind of angle that. You can see the color of it. You know, when we mix the PVA, you're going to see it's going to get lighter and so on. But again, just remember the consistency is the most important right now. The color, we can change it afterwards if we need to, as in like it's easier to darken something than what it is light to make it lighter. So just be aware of that. We are going to add some white glue. Pour. Shh, don't talk while I'm pouring. Shh. That's like PVA glue all mixed up. You can see it did change the tone of it. That's why we are going to be adding some grout. And this is sanded grout for grout joints for up to 3mm to 13mm. If you want a thinner consistency, you're going to add the liquid. If you want a thicker consistency, you're going to add the sand or the grout. So I got this at the dollar store. It's just fiber that we're gonna rip it up, and then we're gonna throw it into a blender or a food processor or whatever. We're gonna cut it down even more to make really fine pieces. So just to show you this stuff, again, this is what plants are made of. Not plants, but the planting baskets and everything are made of. You can rip it apart or you can cut it up with scissors, up to you, but I find if you throw it into like a blender or what have you, it'll just cut it up. It's really good. You can use this for a lot of things. It's very versatile, especially for building miniature stuff. Add in the fibers, mix it up a bit, add more fiber, mix up. And this is good to simulate like some ground cover and so forth. So you can put as much of or as little as this as you want into it. But just remember, the more you put into it, the thicker it's going to get. And after it is really thick, it's going to be harder to apply. So you kind of want to get a good balance of more of a pasty look. So again, before the fiber looks like that, you grind it up. You may not be able to use the grinder afterwards for food stuff or anything, but you know, you just buy a cheap grinder. Now it's time to start getting messy. That's why we got the tarp down, because this is going to get really messy. But it's kind of rinse and repeat. You can use brushes, whatever you want to splash it, and just remember it is thick. You don't want it too thick though that it's going to cause problems for drawing. Like the thicker it is, the longer it's going to take to dry. The runnier it is, it could absorb into the styrofoam and you know, absorb into it and cause some problems. So it's up to you. You just got to play with it. But you can see here, I'm just using this popsicle stick. And I'm not worried about the texture of the styrofoam so much because I want the ground cover to be very broken up, because this is where it would have been blasted with shells or what have you. Like, so many, and I mean so many battles would have went on with this. Well, this is my story anyhow, so you're going to have a lot of goopiness, a lot of goopiness. Yeah, that's really technical words. A lot of blown up earth, I should say, and dirt and mud. And again, you can have blood stains, you name it, you can have whatever you want onto it. But you can see how easy this goes on by using a popsicle stick. Now, you have a little bit of control with it. This is a tongue depressor, not a popsicle stick. It's a little wider, you can see. But in either case, you can put this on and avoid the edges, like the sides, I should say. The reason why, because if you want more of a solid fit, then if you put this clump on the sides, what's going to happen is the pieces ain't going to fit together as well. So we're going to treat the foam on the sides and the back differently, and that's just going to be like another step, because there's going to be a lot of steps into this. Now, the reason why the coconut fiber, like I said, you can see like all of this like fiber and that is showing through. And what's awesome about this is that again, this could have been like a very grassy knoll or what have you, and because of all the war it's seen and everything, there's no more like grass, green grass that's there. It's all covered in mud and blood and everything else, and just that's the way it is, because war is not pretty. And these aren't going to be pretty. They're going to be pretty awesome, but not pretty, like pretty. Anyhow, that's how you seal this one up, just the edge, and we're going to have to seal the side. We're just going to take some Mod Podge. Now, this Mod Podge is the Mod Podge matte water-based glue. It is like, it's not the paper Mod Podge, it's just the standard Mod Podge, the yellow label, because they have different colored labels for different types of Mod Podge. So that's really cool. Gonna shake up the craft paint here. And again, this paint is just the dollar store black craft paint, as said before. Add this in. Where the Mod Podge is white, it dries clear, but you're also going to have a little bit of black or grayness instead of the full black. See? Whoa, that was close. I'm doing this in small batches because Mod Podge will dry. It is air activated to dry. So because of that, if I build up really big batches with this, because there's only the craft paint into it, nothing else, it's going to thicken up, make a skin onto it, and it's going to get clumpy in that. It's not going to be desirable. We don't want that. All right, we're going to paint the sides. So I got a brush ready and just water into it. And this brush, you can use whatever brush you want. I just got this here brush, got it from the dollar store. I love the dollar store. And my brush is wet. It's a good idea to have it wet. And I'm just going to wet the foam just a little bit here. And it's kind of like twofold. You're preparing the surface by adding some wet so the paint might stick a little easier onto the foam. And also you're cleaning off any of the clumps that could be over here, scraping and everything. Our Mod Podge and craft paint mixture. And we are just painting. You could see the side of it. It's going to be black. You could even paint it the ground color brown, like the burnt umber mixed with a little bit of black too, if that tickles your fancy, which is cool. But you know, hey, you do whatever you do, you do. You do what you do, I do what I do. This mixture of the grout and the sand and everything else, again, it will dry, it'll start to dry. So every once in a while, just stop what you're doing and give this a good little mix just to keep it fresh, and it'll make it last longer. That's why you want to do it in smaller batches too as well. Just this one is a little bit different. It has like some gaps and everything, and we do know that this Mod Podge mixed with all of the stuff, the coconut fibers and everything, it will fill these gaps, and also to fill the gaps and take away some of the nice detail from the pipes and everything. So you don't want to do that. So this is where you're going to have to be a little bit more selective, and selective as in we're going to do the Mod Podge coconut stuff on all the exposed white foam. And then before we go any further, we're going to mix up the paint needed for all the different stages. So again, we have the black here that you see that we already painted. I just wrote on its side so that I can differentiate between them all. And then I got other containers and wood. I labeled them all sandbags and metal, because if you look at this, you have metal, sandbags, wood, and then this is going to be your ground cover with all small batches. Yellow, this here is called bright yellow. Again, this is for wood, just bear with me. Yellow thrown into it from cinnamon brown. It's a little lighter, so add a little bit of that to it. Mixing up the yellow and brown to make the wood color, because a little bit brighter, like a tan color you can see there, and that's just with the brown and the yellow. So dump it in. I know this is not really on camera, but again, no measurements here. See, this makes a nice tan color, but we want to make it a little bit darker. I'm going to add a little bit more brown into it. Remember, it's always easier to make something darker than what it is lighter. So start off on the lighter side and work your way down. Eyeballing this, you don't even have to use these colors. You use whatever colors that you want to use. So you can see there just a little tiny bit. Mix it up, mix it up. See, that was only a little bit of black. Look how it toned it down that quick. That much, I mean. So here we go. That's the black sandbag color. I did, again, yellow and brown. With all these paints that you're mixing together, you're going to be putting a wash over them, so it's going to darken them up. So you don't want to keep them all dark to begin with, because it's just going to make them even look darker. So this is called Silver Morning, and it's a craft paint. I really like the color of this. Going to mix that up with Mod Podge. I might just keep it at like the silver and a little tiny bit of black, because with the Mod Podge, it lightens it up. Not whitens it up, it lightens it up. I always try to keep a tidy work area. Yeah, right. There's the silver and the Mod Podge. Yeah, this may get rid of the vibrancy of it, but it's still going to work. No big deal, it is a metallic paint. Now because of that, the black you put into it's going to get rid of the metallic part of it, but we are going to drop a little bit because I don't want it to be too bright. It's going to be the 3 colors, or the 5 colors, the sandbag, the wood, the sides, the metal, and the top ground cover. From where we are going to be painting more than one color here, we have to be kind of selective as which we're going to paint first, so it don't cause a lot of problems. Now, I'm going to paint the foam last, the metal second last, the wood first, and then it's going to be the sandbag. So one thing I did off camera is I added just a little tiny bit of sand into this, and the reason why, just to give it a little bit of a gritty texture to it. When I say a little bit of sand, like it's not enough to get rid of or to thicken it up a lot. It's just, you can hear a little bit of the grittiness of it, so just be aware of that. And remember, work in small batches. Work in small batches. Okay, away we paint. You could thin this mixture down a bit if you want, but I kind of don't like watering it down, just because it is going to be the protective layer. If you get any mud or anything onto it, like onto other things, it's not something that you have to really be concerned about, because the reason why is it's going to be dirty. You're not going to have a clean trench system. Well, you could if you want, but it's going to, this is like in the war. It's gone through the war so much, so because of that, you have so much debris, so much signs of such a battle that went on. Seen that, eh? I almost went in the water. So you want to make sure you get all the wood pieces first. That is one coat of the Mod Podge that is finished. You could leave one and then leave like the wood pieces showing through like the different color to give it a bunch of different variation, or you can create that through painting. It's totally up to you, but the thing is, this is the base coat. As I said, that this is kind of like priming it. So we're priming it, but we're taking advantage of adding the color of the wood that we want and so forth too. The only important thing is when you're dealing with more of the fragile material, like the foam, for instance, you want to make sure you coat that a lot so that it's going to be protective and be able to take on the different types of paint that you're going to put onto it and so forth. So just be aware, while this is drying, I'm just using a different size brush so I can get into the better details. But we do know that the metal, it's just a Mod Podge with a little tiny bit of black and the silver. So it's going to take a little bit of time to paint them. You can use a bigger brush, which I'm going to jump into because it's going to take forever to paint this, especially because there's a lot. Now, I was doing this and I wasn't worried about recording. I would pretty much paint all of the brown on every one of the 8 inch by 8 inch squares, and then I would do the other color on them all. Again, assembly line, and that way it's a little bit faster. It's kind of monotonous and boring, but it just making it go by a lot faster. First coat that I got with the silver, and it does not cover that well. Like you can see the blue coming through. The way that you could avoid that is by painting everything first with a mixture of Mod Podge and white, and that way when you put the silver over it or any color over top of the white, it's going to make it pop. But because I am making this all worn down and battle torn, like it's been there for centuries, then I'm going to not worry too much about covering over the blue and the wood from the cardboard, because it's just going to add more texture and tonal value to it. But I may probably throw like one more coat of the silver onto this just to be safe. So when I do that and we're done, we'll be back and cover and paint the sandbags. It is craft paint, so it's not going to be super silver vibrant as if you just took it and painted it out of the pot, because we did mix Mod Podge with it and a little tiny bit of black. And as I said before, it'll dull down the metallicness of it. But the way that we simply fix this is after this is all dry and we'll put all the wash in it, we go in with the metallic again and just throw highlights onto it. And it'll bring out the highlights again more and more. Same with the floor and so forth. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to paint the sandbag right here. Very easy to do. This paint here, it thickens up a little because of the Mod Podge, like I said before. So you have to make sure that you go into the big one here and you stir it up. See, it's not even dripping or anything anymore. But if you mix it up, you're just refreshing it. With this sandbags, these sandbags where I'm painting them with this color, they are made out of clay. Now, I did lie kind of, because there is one more color besides the color palette, and that is some medium gray. It's by mixing white and black together because I didn't have any medium gray, and Mod Podge, and this is to paint all the stones, like the overturned stones and so forth that are in there. So that's what that, you can see right there. And you can see there's some pink in here that I left uncovered from the ground, putting on the ground cover, I should say. So just put that in with it, really cool. It just kind of breaks it up a bit, I guess. And there you have the two pieces that we got the base part of it done. When I say base, again, it's like putting the primer on and then all of your base coats before you put the wash on and so on. So just to reiterate what we did so far, we used the ground cover, which is burnt umber craft paint, black craft paint, a little bit of grout, some white glue, Mod Podge, sand, and coconut fiber, which you've seen that I grinded up. I didn't see all the stringiness like the grass or everything, and I really like that texture that's going on there. We did put like the Mod Podge, not the Mod Podge, the ground cover on the side, and the reason why, because that, when I designed it, it's bent inward. It's kind of, when we fit them together, it's still going to maintain that illusion of flat. You can see there now, this is we painted this part black too as well with the sandbags, and we got that little space there where they can see through it for when they're shooting. These trenches were roughly based off of World War I trenches. Now, because I got this black Mod Podge onto it, if we take this piece here and we piece it together like so, you can see that it does form and go together really well. Let's change the camera angle again. They're 8 by 8 inches. We're going to leave these dry, and while these are drying, I have so many more tiles to do. Each of these tiles are completely shaped differently. Like they're still 8 by 8 inch by 8 inch squares, but they're arranged differently. You can see here, like this one has just a straightaway. This one on this hand has like it's a four-way intersection. There's many different ones, and the reason I was going to paint these black, but then I decided to paint them brown. The reason why is because when I butt them up together, you can see here, I don't want this to be black because it's supposed to be made of all dirt. Because of this, we decided originally it was black, but it's going to be brown, but we don't want to put the thick consistency over that. So I'm going to show you how I mix up the paint for that brown part while I continue to keep doing what I'm doing, because it's a lot of work, but it's all worth it. So I got my cup, burnt umber acrylic paint from the dollar store, and some black. We got our Mod Podge, just regular Mod Podge, the yellow label, and we have some sand. So I'm going to put the brown in first, the burnt umber. I'm going to put in a little bit of black. I'm going to mix this up. We have to realize that once we put the Mod Podge mixture into this, it's going to lighten it up a bit. This is again just a play sand that you can get. And the reason why I'm putting the sand into it, and just a little bit, is to give it a little bit of texture. Even though flat, if you see it, you want it to have a little bit of texture to it at least. So a little bit of sand, and then we're going to grab our Mod Podge. If I can open this up. Pour a little bit of Mod Podge in after I opened it. It's a little hard. That is the mixture. All we do for painting is we take our paintbrush. And again, I'm using a really wide one because it's a wide area. Mix it in. And then just start going over it. I would suggest put 2 coats onto it regardless, because it is foam and you're putting Mod Podge onto it to give it a little bit of protection onto it. But I am going to seal the whole thing when we are completely finished. And you can keep going over stuff or whatever else, it's up to you. And I put the ground cover in the cracks. This stuff, the watered down stuff, and then I dabbed it. You can see there are going to be water effects and everything else onto this too as well. I usually, when I'm recording videos, I don't like to keep, like speed things up because it's boring. I like to get to the point. But this here is drywall tape, and I put it around each of the single ones just to give it a little more texture to it. And then I dabbed that mixture that I just showed you. I'm also going to dry brush this with the silver, because this is like a metal mesh that they put to hold these pillars together so the dirt don't keep coming off. So since we are all done of each of the tiles, you can see they're all stretched out here, and I have a lot of tiles. Remember, they're 8" by 8", and this is going to cover about a 4x4 table. It's all spread out. It's not in order or anything, obviously, because I just got the ground cover finished, and I'm letting all of the base coats dry before we go on to doing some detailing, including some more sandbags. Okay, it takes a couple hours because the thicker Mod Podge, the longer it takes to dry. As you can tell, it's looking wet, but when it's dry, the Mod Podge is dry. It's not going to have that wet look, but we are going to go in and add some gloss and everything onto it during the final steps. After the detail and the highlight and wash, everything is all done. And then when it's just, it's a matter of just touching it up and that. But I have to wait till this is all dry. As you can see, there's a lot, and I mean a lot of panels. What we're going to use for material is some water, PVA, mixed with some sand, air drying clay, and I have a miniature. That's for scale. It's like 28mm or a little bit higher. It's heroic scale, but we'll use that for our scale just to adjust. Use some of this air drying clay, and this air drying clay is really good to use with water. When it dries, what's going to happen is it will evaporate all the water from the clay, and if your clay is too thin, it's going to have some cracks into it because it can't sustain its structure without the water to keep it there, because the clay shrinks. So what we're going, and you can see with this clay snake, and we have our sandbags as reference for kind of roughly the size that we want. So key thing here is to make sure that your hands are wet. You can always too as well is you can wear gloves with some mud, and you could keep wetting the gloves, or you can put a little bit of Vaseline, and that will actually keep the clay a little moist too as well. But right now I'm just using my hands. As you can tell, I love working with clay. I worked with clay ever since I was a kid, sculpting all different things, so that's no different than what we're doing now. So we're just making some clay. One thing I want to mention too as well with this is what I have underneath here is just some wax paper, parchment paper. This way our clay is not going to stick to it when it's dry, and we'll be able to just pull it off, or even still when it's wet, it's not going to really stick to it. And that's why I have that. And underneath that is a puppy pad from the dollar store when you're training your. Once I have it flat enough, we're going to go in and start trimming it off and so forth. So you see it's flat enough like this. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take a popsicle stick and we're going to wet the popsicle stick just so that the air dry clay is not going to stick to it, because it's really important that it don't stick to it, because if it sticks to it, it's just going to make more of a mess than what it already is going to make a mess. And you can see with the popsicle stick here, it's wet in the water. You can use sculpting tools as well, but this, you don't really need the sculpting tools as much, I think, with making this. This is going to accentuate the trenches, but I'm not going to make these like hyper detail or hyper realistic. So make them quick and easy, pretty much. Using my popsicle stick that is wet, and I'm going to cut the end off just so I can get rid of it. Now, judging from these, you can see roughly how big each of the sandbags are going to be, and the thickness. So the thickness for this part is, you can't see it on camera no matter what angle I have, but the thickness, as in from the wax paper up to the top, to cut some straight lines here and kind of keep it the same thickness of this. And you're probably saying, well, what if I don't have some sandbags that I can use for the reference here? You just eyeball it. The ones that I made onto the trenches in the first place, I just eyeballed it. I never had this. This is afterwards, but I'm just going to base it off of this because I do like the size of it, and they're close to the ones that I made anyhow. Okay, that's the thickness of, or the length of each sandbag. So again, I'm just marking it off. So I know this is roughly how wide and how thick I want these sandbags. We're going to first straighten this edge. When I say straighten, it's not going to be exactly straight, but you're just trimming it off so it appears to be straight, while keeping it flush to the edge that I already cleaned. Now again, this is just a guideline pretty much, just so I can try to keep them the same thickness throughout so that there's a consistency with it, because it's kind of important to have a little bit of consistency so it don't throw off the design too much. And my big gorilla hands are in the way right now. I apologize about that, but it can't be helped while I'm doing the trimming. Safety too as well. So you can see I kind of got the line here for the thickness. I'm just gonna wet this down because this this air dry clay from the dollar store or Dollar Tree is not the greatest quality, but it definitely will work for what we need it. So you can use like Milliput or Super Sculptor, all different names of different types of clay if you want, but if you're on a budget like myself, then you're just going to use what you want. We're gonna roll this wax paper around the edge, and this is again just to help smoothen out. You can see here, I know it's kind of blown out, I'll bring this up closer to camera, and I'm just taking the blunt side of the X-Acto blade and I'm running it onto the wax paper where we fold it. This is kind of like you're just giving it more of a rounded look. And then we're going to flip this back over, open it up, and you can see that the sandbags have flipped over and I cut into there. Oh well. Anyhow, let's flip it back now, and we're going to gently just pry this up. Just like so. Cut the clay at the line so that we cut them complete. And you notice I have one of the trenches here, so we're going to add that. So after we're done cutting this up, we're going to take one, and on camera again, we're just going to round it out like so, and pinch it in the middle just slightly to give it kind of like the edges are full. So let's see, you can see there. Sandbags like that, and we're going to take just a small chip brush, and we're going to wet around where we're going to be applying these at, which you can see around this area. So to do so, and we're going to take some of our PVA and sand mixture, such as this. And we're going to put it around the edges where we're going to be putting the sandbags. We don't want to go crazy and go around the entire thing. Just go up to the corner like this, put this in. I'm just going to stick it like so. Just like that. And we're going to grab another one. Now, you could have these all cut out and dried and everything if you want. There's nothing wrong with like pre-planning it. But what I notice is when they sit, if you don't have them sitting flat when they're drying, they're going to get curled up and they're going to be misshaped, and we don't want that. Once we apply all of the air drying clay, squeeze it in the middle gently. Apply it like that, and then after we have that done and this side, then we're going to overlap them up at least 2 rows, maybe 3, but now that you have them all in place where you want them, the only other step is using the same mixture that you use for gluing down for each level and protecting them, just to give them kind of like a protective coat or a seal coat. You know, because it has sand mixed in with it, it's going to give it a little bit of a grittier texture, which is really cool when you're going to be doing the painting and the dry brushing and so forth. And because of that, what's going to happen is it's going to, the texture, because of the sand, is going to show up. I'm going to be painting them the sandbag color, as you can see up here. So you already see me do that, mix the sandbag color with the Mod Podge or PVA, and painting it on top of it just to give it more of a seal coat. So once that is all done, I will be back. Next thing we need to do is seal everything before we do a wash. And the reason why is because pretty much all the material that we used here was water-based. So if we don't seal it and we just add the wash, it could soften up the material, or even worse, make it collapse, and we don't want that. So because of that, we're going to seal this. Like don't get me wrong, it's already super rock hard. Like, it's very impressive. I'm very impressed by how rigid it came out. But just to be safe, we're going to now seal it. And the stuff that I'm going to use is this here Rust-Oleum clear matte. Now you can use, everybody uses all different type of sealants and everything, and you're probably saying, you know, like it's a rattle can, it's going to eat at the foam. It actually is not going to eat at the foam if you covered it properly with the Mod Podge and so forth. So you spray this on, leave it set, and then spray it again. We only need a little bit of ingredients, not a lot. Some dish soap, and all the dish soap we need is probably just a little tiny bit. And all this is for is so that it can help go into the crevices and stay there like the wash is going to stick. So depending on how much you're going to make for your wash, how much wash you're going to make, it determine how much dish soap you put into it. So I put about this much into it, no big deal. And then we are going to add our burnt umber. We're going to be making a good amount of wash because we have a lot of tiles to go through. I mean a lot. So you can see we have our burnt umber. The next thing we're going to do is stick up or put some brown, or not brown, black, just plain black. And we don't need to put too much black into this because we want to make it dark, but we don't want to make it black. So you can see the little. The next thing we're going to add the color is a bright red. A bright red is because we want to have kind of like just a little kind of a reddish tinge to it, I guess, for the deeper clay. So we're going to throw some red in here. Again, this is just acrylic red paint. There's like kind of a brownish or black brown with a little bit of red into it. We'll probably change it a little bit more after we mix everything else into it. So the next thing we're going to do is just add some water. The way that I like to test it, like you're saying, I'm saying like how much water can I tell them? Well, again, since it's eyeball, you just want to mix it up, get the water all mixed in with all of the paint, and then if you have a clear container or something, you can brush it up and you can see like the translucency of it. Whoops. You can see me just lathering it on, and I'm putting this on everything. And remember, it's good to have a puppy pad, because if you don't, it's going to get pretty messy. Well, it's going to be pretty messy regardless. See, just slathering it, not lathering it. Slathering it. don't even know if that's a word, but it is nail slather. So you just keep adding it. You might not be able to see it, but if by chance it's pushed up against the dead end, then of course you're going to see it, and you want it all to match. Leaving this dry for a good amount of time. When I say a good amount of time, I mean like 24 hours. Just leave it overnight. There's still one more step you got to do to this first. Paper towel, and I'm just gently dabbing off the excess, because that you're still giving you stain, but you're still showing the other color through, which is what we want. So now we're just going to put this aside and leave this dry. And then we're in the workshop, because this part here I always tend to get messy. Plus I was already down in the workshop, so might as well just keep going with it. So you can see here that, you know, everything is all dry like I said. And the first step we're going to do now is we are going to just, we're going to add all the highlights to it. And we're going to do some highlighting here. And the floor's got to be all muddy looking. The metal's got to be brightened up. The sandbag's got to be brightened up. So it's still a little bit more work, so let's just get on and get it done. So the first thing, we're going to PVA glue some red, deep red acrylic paint. We are going to add our burnt umber too as well. Dry brush time. Wet ground. I should probably use gloves doing this, but oh well. Next thing, we're going to dry brush the sandbags. Put it around the edges. There you have it, all you board game maniacs. This is the trench system that we built in its entirety. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, bell notification icon when other Trench Crusade videos such as this one comes out on our channel, because you don't want to miss the adventure. We will see you in the trenches. And always remember, be a maniac.